Good morning and welcome to You Time with Synne. The purpose of You Time is to help you give yourself permission to put yourself first so that you can take care of yourself and others. So the topic that I wanted to focus this morning's podcast on is letter writing. It's one of those things that has kind of gone by the wayside with the advent of email, and there is something very different about putting pen to paper than typing something out. To send a letter is a good way to go somewhere without moving anything but your heart. That is by Phyllis Thoreau. And Lord Byron said, "Letter writing is the only device for combining solitude with good company." So, as a kid, I remember, passing notes to friends in school. I don't know if they would be called letters, but they were just different ideas and acts of kindness or sometimes questions. And then when you get a little bit older, or, back in the 80s when I was a little bit older, sometimes you were matched through school with pen pals. It was definitely a fun exercise in both, enhancing your writing skills, but also building a friendship across the miles. I remember I had a friend who I went to school with, and then she moved to New Jersey, and the only way that we were able to keep in touch was writing letters to each other. I actually ended up becoming pen pals with one of her new friends. Her name was Danny. That's what I remember. And coincidentally, she ended up being roommates of a friend of mine in college. But it was always nice waiting for the mail to come and get something personalized, that someone had spent some deliberate time reaching out to you. And then, then I wrote and received letters from boyfriends. A couple of my boyfriends were older than me, so they went away to college when I was still in high school, and the way to communicate regularly with them was through letters. There'd be occasional phone calls, and it'd be like more, how is your day and what's going on and what frat party did you go to and how's football practice and all those kinds of things. But sitting down in your thoughts, maybe with some nice music playing in the background, to express your love to someone, there's definitely some sort of magic in that. And, it's something that is intentional, and it keeps you present, and it's actually a conversation. More recently, I got a pen pal. Her name is Lori. I met her on the Weight Watchers Connect site, which is the social networking site. And I had made, a comment, I had made a comment on a post that I had gone down several pant sizes, and I was wearing size X now. And this woman wrote back and said to me, you know what, you're a size X. I have a bunch of size X pants that I'd be happy to send you. So Lori, a virtual stranger, sent me a box of really nice pants. And then I got her a subscription to Cooking Light magazine as a thank you. And then that resulted in some thank you notes, which then resulted in some letter writing. And it was really exciting to go to the mailbox and find that Newman had come, rather than just, receiving bills and junk mail and things like that. And she and I have morphed a little bit into emails and texting, but I definitely want to keep the letter writing practice alive. And I love stationery. Whenever I'm in, a bookstore or a card store, I like to pick out nice stationery. Sometimes I order things through Etsy because they're a little bit different. And I am big on thank you notes. I always send out thank you notes. Probably not always, but most often I take the time to write people thank you notes to express my gratitude for a gift or a moment or a memory or, their generosity in opening up their home to me. I also did this exercise where I have written letters to myself. One of the letters I wrote to myself is a letter where I want to be in 10 years, which kind of described to myself the events that had already happened. Another activity I did, which I thought was really therapeutic, was I wrote a letter to my 20-year-old self as if I was kind of providing instructions and guidance on how to move forward in life and kind of warning myself, retrospectively about certain decisions that I had made about, relationships and making choices academically and making choices where to live and, toxic relationships to let go of and things like that, reminders to take better care of my body and things like that, stay out of the sun. Another thing that I did when my son was 1 year old, it ended up being a really long letter. I wrote a letter to him describing what it was like giving birth to him. And not in a TMI kind of way, but just how exciting that 24-hour period was. And, I had a lot of family members kind of waiting in the wings. This was, the first grandchild on my side of the family. And I asked the people who were there, including who is now my ex-husband and some members of his family, to write a letter to Cole for him to read, when he's having a child of his own, about their memories from their perspective for that day. So I'm excited. I haven't looked at that in a long time. I should go back and look at it and make sure it's where I last left it. But I'm excited. If he decides not to be a parent, I will give them to him at some point, maybe his 30th birthday or something. Another type of letter is the therapeutic letter that you never send. It's that letter where, maybe you're expressing undying love, or maybe you're expressing being angry or hurt, but those are things you kind of write down for yourself and do not send. You can burn them or shred them or hold on to them for a little bit, but don't send them. I actually recently came across a New York Times article I think it was from 2014, and it's called The Lost Art of Angry Letter Writing. There's a whole other genre, which is, cover letters, when you're applying for a job, which there's a lot of formality and suggestions on tips on how to do that. I also made the decision, this was inspired by my sister, as a lot of my good decisions are. But last year, she decided to limit the number of Christmas letters that she was going to send out. And instead of sending out sort of the obligatory photo card of the family, she took the time to write personal letters to people. And I took a cue from that, and at Christmas 2018, I did a similar thing. A little bit of the impetus for that was that the pictures that I had ordered that I was going to include with personalized Christmas cards didn't come in time, and I had to get my cards out. But I did not do the obligatory photo card. I made my list of people smaller, and I took the time to write some handwritten notes and send them out to people. So that's really all I wanted to cover in this podcast. This may be my shortest one ever, but I would challenge you to sit down and write a letter. It could be to yourself. It could be an old friend. It could be, a therapeutic do not send letter. It could be a dialogue with perhaps a loved one who is no longer with us, that you would want to share, your successes and your sadnesses and, your achievements and things like that. Maybe appreciation that you never got to express when they were living. So yeah, I don't expect you to forward me emails of your letters, and I'd try as an exercise putting pen to paper rather than typing them. I'd be interested in hearing what kind of letter you chose to write, and if you felt any benefits from doing that exercise. So, again, this is Synne from You Time. I actually am now on Spotify. So if you look up You Time with Synne, you will find my podcast there. You can send me emails at youtime2019@gmail. You can follow me on Instagram at Synnewing. You can also follow me on Twitter at Synnewing. Also, as a way of linking to my Spotify podcast, I created a little website, and that is youtimeonline.com, and it is links to my podcast. I also have sort of a daily reflection on what kind of self-care activities I've participated in, and I started a self-care photo page. I'm calling it my self-care photo gallery, where there are a bunch of pictures that I've posted that I've taken myself engaging in different self-care activities. And I've had a couple of friends email me pictures to share on that gallery as well. So if you have a picture of you participating in a self-care activity and you wouldn't mind it being published on You Time Online, definitely send it my way. I'd be happy to share it. That is all for now, and I hope you have a great day.